Beforehand, a little bit about me. I'm an analytics engineer at Lotum. I've been exactly 5 years working for Lotum. Today is my, let's say, anniversary. Lotum is a small gaming company of around 50 employees, and it's known for like mobile games like Fear Builder and Word, Quiz Planet, and Word Blitz. And the main talk, or the main point of this talk, is to show how easy it actually is to build internal web applications using Python, and to show how to simplify it. And how will we do that? To do that, I will show you one example, and it is this A/B testing dashboard, to then try and work towards creating this using NiceGUI. Maybe a bit of context beforehand. Maybe not everyone is familiar with A/B testing. So for Lotum, we have 4 live games on multiple platforms. We are actively developing them, trying to improve them. And how do you check if a game is improving? Well, you do A/B testing if you want to go a data-driven approach. So A/B testing, I'll just assume most of you know it by now. There was also a very good talk about it beforehand this morning. So let's just take this example of changing the color on a button. Group A gets the green button, Group B gets the red button. What improves the game? Of course, what improves the game is not really clarified here, but let's say people play the game more often. And most of the time, like the analysis, at least at Lotum now, it's done then in Python to see if it actually improved the game. So we notice that, okay, we do like this analysis, and then we have another A/B test here, we have another A/B test here, but what we want to do is like to, you know, have a bit more of a system of it. We want to provide more improvements for the gamers. We want to improve a better game overall. And so we want to make it like faster to test and faster to analyze the results. And this is like one small part of why you would need an experimentation platform. There's of course more reasons, but I just want to get to the demo and showing you at least how to build something in NiceGUI. So I already talked about we the whole time. Who is we? It's a business intelligence team at Lotum, 3 people, Fabian, Toby, who's sitting in the back, showing his hand. He also has a nice talk on Wednesday regarding pipe SQL syntax, and me, also analytics engineer. And so we sat down together and we decided, okay, so this experimentation platform that we're going to build, right? Like we have all these tests, we want to like streamline it, we want to systemize it. Let's sit together, let's put all our heads together, and let's find like what does this experimentation platform need? Well, first of all, we need some way of visualizing our results to the game leads, like our product managers. We need the results to be easily to interpret and to be also able to customize how we visualize it. It's very important, and you will see later down the line that not all frameworks offer this. Also, we have we're different people, different backgrounds, different skill sets. We didn't want any like front-end complexity using like a lot of JavaScript, stuff like this view. So that was also one of the requirements. And furthermore, we had a lot of analysis already done in Python. And we want to reuse this, right? I mean, we already know it's working. All the product managers are expecting this kind of analysis. Let's bring this more, and let's keep this code base the same. And of course, has to integrate with our data warehouse because you want to get pull the data into the analysis. And if you need to build, some glue there, preferably not, let's say. So we had a look at some frameworks. So we had a quick look at Streamlit. But we saw there were like a lot of limitations. Like there's a lot of magic when it comes to state handling, when you want to run just certain pieces of code. Like you don't want to run the whole notebook. You don't want to run the whole app. Now you only want to run, for example, one sidebar or like one graph. Also the styling limitations were very limited. And of course, like aesthetics is not always as important. However, if you really want to have like a graph in a certain way, to provide the most context on a problem or analysis, you need some styling there. So then we also look at Gradio, also very limited UI control. Plotly dash, it's very verbose and stateless. We had like a look at, for example, just creating a button between NiceGUI and Plotly Dash was like 4 lines of code versus 1 line of code. One was also like Plotly Dash was not very Pythonic. It would have a lot of HTML in there. Wasn't really what we're looking for. We wanted just a quick way and a Pythonic way to create our like experimentation platform, and that's where we found NiceGUI. NiceGUI is like, for us, it was like, has some complexity, not too much, but it had the right amount. And it's also the way it's written, I'll show you guys later. It's very Pythonic, and like it has excellent styling and component options, maybe even too many options. You will see that. So yeah, about NiceGUI, it's a Python UI framework, as I mentioned. It's mostly built for building web apps, dashboards, GUIs, and actually this presentation, just as a proof of concept, I was like, okay, let's also build it in NiceGUI, because why would I present it if I don't support it? Then also, it's built on, it's like for Tailwind CSS, so for the styling, and it uses Quasar UI for libraries, so for like buttons, tables, stuff like this, so we don't need to create anything of this ourselves. So, okay, how does all of this work? We have like a CSS framework, we have a UI library, we have probably also some Python in there, I guess, right? So, first of all, I will go like through the different kinds of elements in there. I'll try to hold it to the experimentation platform. However, the experimentation platform doesn't use all the capabilities of NiceGUI. Also, it's not my goal to show all the capabilities. I mean, we all, I think, want to go home on time, not stay here for the night. So yeah, let's have a quick look at the layouts. So for the layouts, for example, we have here the auto context, and this is what I really like about NiceGUI. Like normally how you have an HTML, you have like blocks, you have code blocks, you have divs, for example, you would write something in the div, right? Now you have a context, for example, here a card, and then you will write something in there. And it's kind of small to read. However, I have a GitHub repository, which I'll show you guys later, which also is public, so you can all try this out yourself at home. But yeah, we have like this auto context. So every time I use a with statement, I build something in this element. So here I'm building inside a card. I can also build inside just a random element, like a standard element. This is mostly not really like layout technical. What's more layout technical and where we want to like try and go towards building our experimentation platform is that we had like 3 main columns. It was a grid. And for that, we also have just one line where we can say, hey, UI grid with 3 columns. We can give them some classes, more about that later. I just use them to show clearly, okay, where are the grids, right? You see here like the red lines. So we can say, okay, we have 3 columns, and everything that's then afterwards appended is put in these 3 columns. So if I would like now add 3 more, they would also again be in the 3 columns below them. Then, okay, we have a grid, we also have columns. This is the way to structurize different pieces of code or different visuals under each other. So we have, for example, here in the main content, we first had like, hey, this is the A/B test name, this is it's significant or not, and there's a table and a plot. So we can divide it using UI.column. Again, it's inside the grid, inside like the second spot on the grid, and then inside there we have 3 labels. And then we have, if we have columns, we also have rows. So if I want to like show something visually next to each other, you can see it here, the red line. Hey, we have here a UI row, and then we have one label. Here comes the table, and here the plot. So here the table, and here the plot. It's not really magic, but I do think it's a nice and Pythonic way of like handling the structure of a file. So that's of course not all. There's like a lot more layout opportunities. There's, for example, lists, which, I mean, you can also use a column for this, right? But there's like built-in for lists, and it's easier than probably to iterate over it. There's like the cards, which I showed you before. So you have like these, popped up containers. And for example, there's also expands, where you can expand the text, and hey, there's some text inside of it, and tabs. I mean, all the Examples I gave you here, use on top here the tabs. This is the same, so you have tab 1 and tab 2, for example. And you can have a bit more of a UI, have a bit more of a website build it with this. I have to say, like, this example here is, of course, just like one page, but you can create like a whole website with this. Also, and even a presentation. Also, the documentation of NiceGUI is written in NiceGUI itself. So it's also really nice, also open source, so you can have a look at how they handle it. So for the controls, like for an UI, you need controls, right? So there's like the standard controls, like buttons. They are not present here in the mock-up, at least of the experimentation platform. The platform I showed you is not like the live one because it would have a lot of code, would have a lot of also code you don't need just to make it look like a bit more pretty. But here, the example that we had for the A/B test, hey, you have either a green or a red button. You can see here there's just like one line. You can define a button. Regarding like how to style it more, okay, you do already see here there's a color. More styling options I'll show you guys later, and also the interactivity I'll show you all later. Okay, so we also have dropdowns. So we had like you can select the game in the top left, and for example we have like the 3 games now. We have 4 at the moment, but I have an example here. You can select it, and actually you do see the text here is not updated, even though we do define, hey, the selected game is here, this select. We do see, okay, there's no reactivity, and if you're used to Streamlit, you would expect that, hey, it's going to run the whole code and it's going to update what I have here. That's not the case. It's more like an explicit refreshing. And more regarding this multiple ways of refreshing this, come down to that later. However, in the next example, I already have a quick sneak peek. So for example, here I have like the radio buttons, which are used for, hey, this A/B test I'm gonna analyze. Again, nothing special. It's like UI select. You just give a list of options, which is, I just hard-coded the list here. And then you can give them like a standard value that's already selected. However, here you see that the label has a bind text from. And based on this, you can bind any like object to it and then retrieve the parameter from it to bind it to. So in this selected A/B test, if I do like, for example, print selected A/B test.value, I would get a core feature, and you see that it's directly then this reactivity, which really offers like a nice way to handle small reactivities without having to run down your whole code again. Also, what's a nice part is the date ranges. I have a bit of a more advanced example here. Technically, all you need there's 2 date ranges here. There's like one here where you can type it in. There's one here where you can select like, hey, okay, 9 to 11 September, and you see it already puts it in. You will technically only need these 2 lines to visualize this. However, as you have seen, whenever I update the bottom one, the top one is updated, and whenever I update the top one, the bottom object here is updated. And how that works, I'll show you a bit later when we talk about reactivity or interactivity. So, of course, there's more controls. There's like, for example, we have the sliders. I mean, it's not really that interesting. We have the text area. We have a color picker. I mean, looks nice, but for our use case, not really useful. Also a time picker and a file upload. So there's like a lot of possibilities with NiceGUI. That's what I want to say. Like if you create a website, you can have like a fully featured website using this. So let's get a bit more to the data elements. So first of all, you only have to look at the right side here in this part, or at least for the fast API. So it has like, it uses fast API, and we can directly create endpoints here. So we can, using NiceGUI, also create an API. So you would just like in fast API, you would define your function, you would get an app.get on the top of it, and then you can do whatever you want with the function. So for example, here I get the games from the data storage. And the data storage is actually also a nice way of keeping persistence and keeping states inside of NiceGUI. So the data storage is like let's say it's on this, you have multiple levels. It's just like a memory that you can either have on the app level, you can either have on the user level, you can have on the session level that will store the data. So for example, what's up, I can write here, and this node is kept between the visits you see. So if I go front and back, it's still there. And if I would reboot now the whole server, it would still be there. Not gonna do it because don't wanna get the curse that then everything is broken, but yeah, can trust me on that. And for example, in the experimentation platform, I use this for defining a state, like for example, they get like, hey, these are all the games, those are all the A/B tests. This user is currently analyzing this A/B test, so whenever that user comes back to the web page, they see exactly the same where they start where they left off. And then regarding tables, so we had also a table in there. I do see I had a lot of space here always for the example. Maybe I should have put it in. But at least the tables looks like a lot of code here. Technically, you would only need rows here, and it would extract all the information out of it. In this example, however, I have like 2 rows of data and I have 4 columns. However, I don't want to show all 4 of the columns. That's why I can define the columns I want to show, what their field is, and how they like human readable should be, right? And yeah, then it's just as easy as putting a UI table and you have your table. There's a lot of options actually here. I would highly suggest looking at the NiceGUI documentation. You can add like expanded rows, you can add pagination, you can add whatever actually you want in here. So yeah. Then also A/B testing dashboard without data, or at least without graphs. I mean, it's possible, but we decided to have like, for example, a bootstrapping graph here. I mean, don't read too much into this one. I just created like, or actually vibe coded a sample figure, but just to see how easy it is to implement it. UI.plotly, you put your figure in there, you're done. You don't like Plotly, use Matplotlib, also fine. UI.matplotlib. Use Apache eChart, also fine, can use that. Okay, and then actually what you see the whole time in this, it's kind of funny, it's kind of like an inception, because what you see the whole time is on the left, the code block that I use, UI.code, to show actually the like raw, or like the source code I use to visualize what's on the right. Maybe I should have mentioned it before. Guess you all assumed it by now, but the source code is on the left, the visual, what NiceGUI renders is on the right. So yeah, for example, here we can have a UI code, and this is then how you can present code with syntax highlighting, stuff like this, using language in there. So regarding interactivity, actually a more interesting part. I already showed you about the core feature and puzzle feature right here that's getting updated, which is used by these bindings, data bindings. So you're kind of like saying, hey, this one value, inject another value in there. And every time that other value updates, you also update. Now, however, we do see that we have like here a range picker, and here we just have a string of two dates. Here we need a bit of like, transformation conversion. So what we can say is, for example, hey, we have here the UI date. And if we want to move forward, so if we want to move from this element here to the other element, we just need to take the from into a string, put a minus in between them, and take the to, because this one, this element here stores it in just a dictionary with from and to. And if we want to go the other way around, so we have like backward here, we have to like split our string and then get the first part from the from and the second part to the to. That's how this then works. So it's actually interesting that you can like combine and connect this reactivity, even though you have like kind of a different, or you actually have a different type that you're storing. Also, of course, functions. I mean, buttons, you have here, or here at least a select option that you can then like add a listener to. You can say on value change, do something. On a button, on click, do something. Stuff like this. That's also another way to handle reactivity. Of course, for example, maybe it's a bit better in this example is where I have like a timer here and I can click refresh and it refreshes the element. And how is this done? I have one element where I set the time, it's a label, and I give this a UI.refreshable. So this means this function is refreshable, and this function renders my time here. And then I can say, okay, hey, I have here this refresh button, and then I can say, if I click on it, I take this element that I rendered before and I want to refresh it. So that's also actually a really interesting way to handle interactivity. So then we have also styling. So for styling, we have NiceGUI. We can say, okay, we have some colors here, like for example, a brand color. And as we saw before, we have a button where we can say the color is a brand. This is actually not that interesting. What's more interesting, I'm not sure if people are familiar with Tailwind CSS, because they offer a lot of pre-made classes with which you can, pimp or style your text or whatever element, HTML element you have. For example, here we see, okay, we have no styling, then we add like a bigger size text, a bolded font, and we add a color, and we can add a decoration as well, all using just dot classes. Also, because Quasar is like the UI library, it also has some features of styling it. So for example, we have some buttons without any styling, and you can see here it's like a glossy rounded one. You can just set it by props glossy rounded. That's how easy it is to actually change the styling here. This all is also, if you go to the documentation for the button in NiceGUI, there's also a link, and it says what UI element of Quasar it takes, and there it has all the props that you would need. Also, there's multiple options. You can also do a dot style, stuff like this. But yeah, all in all, finished product would be this. Maybe would have made sense to explain this in the beginning, but we do have like that we can select, hey, we have here a game. We have this feature. It's not significantly better in the games played. This is our bootstrap, and this is how our test information. So to sum up a bit, it's very Pythonic and easy to use, I would say, NiceGUI. And with Fast API, you also have like an easy way to create endpoints. You also have a lot of interactivity options, whereas I have to say sometimes with the data binding, it's not really straightforward, and you can only put like one object in there and then take a parameter. Also a lot of styling options, right? We saw there's the NiceGUI, Quasar, there is Tailwind, you can just put CSS in there itself. There's a lot of options. And also NiceGUI brings a lot of CSS variables or settings themselves. Like when you create a column, it already appends some like, oh, I want to have a gap and it's a flex call, stuff like this. So it can be sometimes a pain to debug why the CSS you just applied is not applying, because probably the default is that they already said something there. Also has a rich component library, but sometimes hooking into components can be complex. With the table, it was a bit harder to get inside a table a graph. So I wanted to do the Plotly graph inside the table. It was a bit harder. And yeah, the app storage for easy storage is really nice. However, all data there needs to be JSON serializable. Can sometimes be not ideal. So what I want to say is NiceGUI is a powerful tool for building web applications. It's very Pythonic and easy to use. Has a very rich component library, UI styling, and extensive interactivity options. So I would say feel free to check it out. I have the URL here, but I have later a QR code. And I would say have a look at it. Also, I would love for you guys to try it out, make a quick application using it. Thank you for listening. Oh, wait, there's more. So one quick plug. We're still looking. I told you all, Lotum, the BI team has I have 2 colleagues. We're looking for a 4th one. So lotum.com/BI if you're interested. It's north of Frankfurt. If you're interested in data, gaming, I would say get in contact with me or directly through the website. And this is the GitHub.
Okay, thanks for the talk. And there are some questions. So first one is, did you consider Shiny for Python as an alternative? It seems similar to NiceGUI.
Shiny, yeah, Shiny is more like R, right? But there's also the Shiny for Python, but we haven't considered it. But as far as I understood, it's very similar to Plotly Dash. So probably it's more like a dashboarding tool, less on having like interactivity with only certain elements in the app. That's what I assume. To be honest, I haven't had a close look at it.
Next question is, can you cache expensive resources like a large motor file on a system level so that not every new user triggers a load operation?
Yes, it's a very good question. Actually, also with the A/B test experimentation platform that we have, there's a lot of like getting a lot of data in the system, right? There's this app storage, what I mentioned before, where you can store the data either on the server or either on the user. If it's like an expensive to calculate, but not an expensive to store, right? If you really want to have like an expensive to calculate and store, I would suggest what we have actually is like having a caching decorator that stores results in Google Cloud buckets and then retrieves the data there.
I think this might be related to your answer. So next question is, how does storage work between different users of a web app?
Again, a good question. I kind of want to like skip a bit back. So there's multiple levels of the storage. There's the storage which is on app level or called general. There is the storage that works on user level. So maybe we can see a bit more here. So we have here app storage general. So this is for every user that's using your app. So everyone has this setting, right? Everyone has the same games they can analyze. Everyone has the same A/B test they can analyze. However, if I want to have like my state that's like, hey, I'm now analyzing this one, my view is this A/B test, you put it in a user storage. And that's in here. So that way, if I analyze an A/B test, I see something different than when you analyze a different A/B test because your storage is set differently. And so based on cookies and IDs.
Thanks. We have a few more minutes left. Is there anyone who wants to add more questions? Yeah.
What happens if you don't put the refresh tag on an element?
If you don't put the refreshable tag on an element, you're not able to refresh it by default. So it would happen again like when I would change the core, or let's actually go to the part where I have it. So if I would click refresh here, I would actually say, hey, time does not have a refresh function. We'll just say that. However, you can also maybe put it on like one level above with this with statement. So you can make, for example, this whole example here also refreshable. And then if you refresh that, you automatically refresh everything that's inside the container.
Yeah, my question is, how is it deployed? Is it running like fast API with some unicorn below, or is it compiled into some JavaScript and then you can deploy it anywhere on kind of infrastructure?
So that's a good question. As far as I know, we have this actually running on Cloud Run in Google with a like scale to 0. It uses fast API, but you are also able to, in production, run it using UVcorn. Yeah, I think that's actually how we did it. But now in this case, I just have it locally, so not production purposes. I can just use the UI.run. What it does under the hood, not sure. But in production, you would use UVcorn.
Okay, thanks again for the presentation and input. And again, another big applause for the speaker. And thanks for joining.